do? Starts with this. What was Timothy's plea?
Youthful desires of youth.
Youthful desires, which was lust. Youthful lustful desires, whichever way it was. Plea, youthful desires, and lust. What was he to pursue? So he just didn't tell him to run away into never land, right? He told him to run away from youthful desires, or lust, or whatever that may be. But he gives him the direction to run. He tells him to run into, pursue righteousness. And when he says pursue, does he mean kind of just slowly go there? He means make maximum effort to get there. Maximum effort to go and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. So therefore, I love this because God doesn't tell you to go one way without giving you some place to go.
He tells them where to run from and where to run to.
There you go. Can you see it as he's saying, run from this, you come here with your arms wide open because this is where you should be. In the righteousness, and the love, and the peace, and the faith. I love that part. Verse 23. What was he to avoid?
Foolish and ignorant disputes.
Foolish and ignorant disputes. Now what was he dispute about? Pardon? What was he disputing? What was he disputing? What was he about?
Oh, religion.
Religion. One side would be discussing God's word, the other side would be discussing man's opinion, philosophy, or theology, or like, come on, brain. Doctrine. Socrates was a philosopher. So it would be philosophy. He wouldn't have anything any bearing because that would make it foolish and ignorant because anything that man can think of don't have any anchor to it. You can't bring it back to home. You can't grab it. God's word, it always stands for itself. And this is why he's telling them, do not get caught up in ignorant and foolish and ignorant disputes. Because when you do this, because here's the thing, man's doctrine he can continue to add to. You can continue to add to. You can continue to add to. God's word, he says, don't add to or take away from. So therefore, when you try to pit God's word against somebody's doctrine that will change as they start to lose, it will harm those who hear. This is one of the reasons why he tells them that. But also, he tells them, but why does he tell them to avoid it? 23. Produces arguments. They produce arguments. Because basically, if you can't win with where if God's word says this, and you can't succumb to that, you can't get over it, you can't go under it, you can't go around it, then basically now I have to become an actor in this experience. Because now I'm looking to get the Academy Award because it's in my theatrics, my swelling up in it that makes me seem more right. You ever seen that with somebody? Where they can't win, but then all of a sudden they go, well, let me tell you something! You know, right? You put a little theatrical piece on you. Therefore, that's where it comes from. And here's the deal. Are children of God to be caught up in situations like that?
No.
Why?
Well, for one reason, there's no debating God's word.
That's one.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And what I think you actually, when you are willing to debate it, then you're putting the question out there, well, there could be something different.
Right. You're
with your kids, I mean, you set down the laws and you have to word it this way, I really don't care what you think. This is what it is,
You ever seen that? Oh, great.
You're supposed to say everything with love and gentleness and mercy.
You can't do that in that thing. Because if you do it in that way, what does it do with your testimony? Does it not put your testimony in question if you say you're wrong? See, it doesn't challenge it. It challenges because it puts you now starting to look just like the world. Because our human nature is that we don't like to lose. You know what I'm saying? You can take the most docile person and then put them in a position where now you have to pit them against somebody else. And at some point they'll be like, oh no. But then you might get a nerve and all of a sudden they turn into this big giant. Even though they only gave big, they turn into this big giant person because deep down inside nobody wants to lose. But you ever seen that bumper sticker that says, God said and I believe in that covenant? Do you know that's not a true statement? Here's the true statement. God said it, whether you believe it or not, it said it. That's the truth of the statement. We like that bumper sticker because it sounds like we have something to do with it. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. No. God said it, period. Whether you believe it or not, it settles it. That's the beauty of it. And this is one of those things. This is why we don't get caught up in disputes. Because God said it, now whether anybody else believes it, it's settled. It doesn't matter. So therefore he's saying, here's the reason why you don't get caught up. still is true. Where we get into trouble is that somebody will start to try to debate or listen to somebody who's trying to argument, and when we do that, they get to slip in something that sounds good, and then it brings up questions. It starts to bring up doubt. I just watched it happen inside the courtroom. Okay? All it takes is just a little bit of something that sounded good to go, well, maybe, and then therefore we go down a path where we shouldn't go. The next question for you is this. This is 24 and part 28, 25a. List what must be true of a servant of the Lord. What must be true of a servant of the Lord? Starting in verse 24 and it goes to 28, 25a.
So he must not quarrel.
He must not quarrel, that's one.
He must be gentle.
He must be kind, he must be gentle, okay. Able to teach.
Patient.
Patient. What else?
Not resentful.
Not resentful. So humility, correcting those who are in opposition. This is what he's saying. This is what he's saying. The list of what a true servant of the Lord must look like. They must not quarrel. They must be gentle to all. I love that. They're gentle to all. It's good, easy to be gentle to those who've been gentle with you. But it's talking about those who are gentle to all and able to teach. This is what he's speaking about, the servant of the Lord. He's talking about the preachers, the teachers, anyone that's trying to lead someone. These are the people he's referring to. This is what's really unique because most people don't get this part of the message. Most people don't preach from this part. They don't teach from this part. Only time you hear about it when somebody's being ordained, they're only talking about the set of qualifications. They don't teach that's the charge. That's it. And then you come to it and it says you must be patient. Oh, that's the part that hurts. Oh, you got to be patient on top of all this. But then he says, in humility, correcting those who are in opposition. Because in humility, in correcting those in opposition, there is a fruit that's expected to come out of it. You know what it is?
It says leading them to the knowledge of the truth. I hope that God.
That's right. Because see, in humility, I'm not harming you. Just because you don't believe, just because that young person inside the room today in the courtroom and inside the deliberating room, I realized from day one after we had a couple little conversations about things where this person stood. But it did not make me treat them any different. When I took the trays for people to know and put them in the trash, I took her to shift as well. It wasn't any issue for me. Because, see, again, it's in the love where I have the greatest chance to gain her. Not in beating her going, you're different, you should believe, you should pray, you should this. It's not the case. It's in humility that you will gain the opportunity to lead them with a hope. Because it's God who will reveal it to them in His time. That's what I love about this. That, you know, we all think that we got to be the one to open your mouth up and like make them take medicine and hold their nose. You got to open your mouth and pull the word down. It don't work that way. That's how we start to do it, though. We want to force feed them the word. Because if we force feed them, we go, they got to hear it. I'm just saying. Yeah, go on out. You go, here's the deal. It has to be on free will. It has to be of their own will. Just because I guilt you into it doesn't mean that you did it of your own will. You didn't give your heart to Him. This is what it's about. It's about literally giving your life into His hand. So, yeah.
Patrick?
Yes.
What it reminds me of is the main heresy that happened was the Arian heresy about the and the way it started was this one leader decided that he was going to give a philosophical discussion of the nature of the Trinity. And he was attacked not so much for what he said, but for his arguments. In other words, it was two guys just saying, well, you're arguing this way, you didn't cross this T exactly right, this I, the dot was off, and they're not talking about the subject. It's just they're arguing for the fact of arguing, and, it led to, some major problems, and had nothing, they were not talking about, discussing the word. It was just a philosophical debate.
Yeah.
And, the techniques thereof.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Last couple of questions for you coming out of 25b and 26. Jim gave me half what I already said. Why must the servant of the Lord be this way to those in opposition? The first part Jim gave was perhaps to God would grant them repentance. Okay? What's the rest? So what? Okay, that part of it. There's a couple pieces before that piece. Anybody see it? Come to repentance.
Change their way of thinking.
That's right. So they have a chance perhaps when they come to repentance. Next is so that they may know the what?
Truth.
Know the truth. So they, first of all, that perhaps God will grant them repentance so that they may know the truth. And the next is perhaps they may come to their senses and then do what, Joy?
Escape the trap of the devil.
For they have been what by him? They've been taken captive by him. So this is the whole point of why you do everything with humility, with love, with peace, with gentleness, and so forth. But does that mean you got to be weak?
No.
Do you know one of the greatest misconceptions of the world about a Christian is their meekness? You know what I'm saying? Just because a Christian is meek does not mean that you are weak. They don't understand that the strongest thing around is love. It's not necessarily the guns you carry around here like this, okay? The strongest thing you have is love. And because of love, and love makes a person genuine love, agape love, the love from the will, what I'm talking about, the unconditional love. It's what makes you strong, because it's what makes you endure people who else lies you for gathering on the door, fire sheet to them. And that's what we spoke to. Burn off the door. You know. But that's the thing about it. That's what I love about it. Any thoughts, questions before we jump into chapter 3? Chapter 3, I'm going to tell you, Alice Whitehurst has been asking me forever to preach a sermon out of this chapter right here, chapter 2. She's been asking me forever. And I don't know when we're going to get to it, but, you know, I thought about it when I was going through it, because this is the chapter that she loves so much. And I'll tell you why. I'll read it to you first. I'll read the first few passages for you. It says, was there any questions about 2 before going through? Okay. It says this. But know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the form of godliness but denying its power. And from such people turn away. Okay? Here's what she loves about that part. Let me tell you. Is that it's a reminder that perilous time is coming. She says, in the last days, perilous times will come. And she's been saying, we are long about the National High Assembly, so we've been preaching and teaching about this. We're in the last days. In the last days, right? Okay? And so this is the portion that she loves so much, is because this is still a true statement. Even when it was written then, it was a true statement then. It still stands true today. Because as we go through this, hopefully, if God blesses me, and I pray He does, I will do my best to try to help you understand what it's talking about. Because if you look at this, this is between 18 and 19 characteristics that's going to come out on people. This is people that He's talking about. The characters of these folks come out of the church. Do y'all not know or realize or remember that the Antichrist comes where? Out of the church. And he starts off with, he says, but no. Now I want you to realize this. When he starts off this word with but, no, you see, he ends chapter 2 with this very solemn, loving, understanding, compassionate, kind, caring, pastor attitude, how you got to be to those who you're trying to win over, right? But now he says, but no, this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. So he's saying that you got to be prepared. Don't, because in your meekness, let people take you for granted and you don't stand firm. Because in perilous times are coming. He was standing in perilous times. Why? Because the church was being persecuted to the greatest degree it had been since Christ walked on it, because of the lie Nero told about Christians burning down Rome, portion of Rome. And now Paul himself is facing beheadment, or crucifixion, and this was beheadment? I don't remember. Paul is facing death. I'll say that there. At this time. And here's the thing, is that when he says here, the last days, when he's speaking of last days, first when he talks to people's head is the second coming of Christ. And that's true. But he's talking about from that point leading all the way up to the second coming of Christ. This is what he's speaking of. So it's not like it's just at the time of Christ's coming that perilous time is going to come. He's saying from this point on, perilous times are coming. It's it. It's what he's saying. And he says here, the last days, perilous time. And when he speaks of time, he's not talking chronological time either. Chronological chronological time would be, day 1, day 2, day 3. Go back and look at the Greek. If it was the word chronos, it would be chronological time. But it was kairos. Kairos means, kairos means seasons. And he's saying this, that throughout, until the day of Christ comes, there will be seasons where the church will be in perilous times, where it will be greatly attacked for a while, and then it'll go down. And there'll be a great attack again, and then it'll go down. And there'll be a medium attack, and then it'll go down. Because he's saying, that's why he's saying there's going to be seasons of this experience that's happening. And I love that because it makes a lot more sense, because you think that in the end of this, when it says, if it was chronological, you expect towards the end that it was like, wow, right? But you see an escalation, you see it going slowly, towards the end, all of a sudden it goes, boom! It's everything, right? But here's the deal. When it's in passages of seasons, it's crazy, real bad right here, and it goes there. It goes quiet. They didn't even describe it as being cyclical, but they describe it as being in seasons. Like a group here, then there's peace. And then there's chaos again, and then there's peace. And then there's chaos one more time, you know what I'm saying? So here's the thing, is that there's never the church never really gets out of it. There's always going to be this thing coming out of it, because here's the deal. Somebody read verse 13 for me. Because verse 13 gives us some really interesting clues.
Well, evil men and impostors will come from bad to worse, will go from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to get worse. He's saying it's starting out here, and then it's going to get worse, it's going to get bad to worse, it's going to continue. And here's the deal. In the end, it does get extremely worse because they give birth to the Antichrist. This is where it comes out of the church. And this is where it starts at. It starts right here, because if you look at verse 2, it says, for men. The problem is not going to be the outside world. The problem is going to be what? Men. From within the church. When it says men, by the way, it speaks of mankind, anthropology, as man and generic as a whole. Okay? So it's going to come out of the church. It says, for men will be what?
Lovers of themselves.
Oh, see, do y'all understand what that really truly means? Okay.
What you only want to finish.
Lovers of oneself.
Just only care about what
Me. And do you know that when, I want you to realize something. Doing some research on this, prior to 1960, most of the stuff from the church, there was no preaching or teaching or doctrine that was captured that taught us about self-love. Okay? It showed up in the 60s. Became even more manifest in the 70s. In the 80s, this is where prosperity preaching came out of, just popped up on the scene. Okay? What's the greatest law? Love the Lord thy God. What's the second?
Neighbor as yourself.
Is there a third? No. There was nothing in there about us having this, creating this self-love for ourselves. The first and greatest law is to love the Lord thy God, right? And the second is to love your neighbor as you love yourself, because we already know we love ourselves. Do you see it? So here it is. Now he's saying, here, this is the piece. This is the key piece here. He says that for men will be lovers of themselves. So now, automatically we are born with selfish nature, so you don't need anybody to feed that fire. But here's the deal. They will be feeding the fire to love themselves. And when they start to feed the fire, it don't have to help me to become more selfish. But see, when you go down, this is a tube coming straight out of the gut. Self-love means devoid of love for anybody else. Y'all see that? There's no room for me to love you because I'm too busy loving me. Y'all see that? This is coming out of the church. This is people who are supposed to be leading the church. He's talking about preachers, pastors, teachers, all of this. This is where the problem is going to come from. Because if you think about it, you know people around you today who's very self-centered, who only love themselves, it's very difficult to be around that person for a while, isn't it? Because, see, they have a tendency, they don't just have one flaw, one fault like that. That fault kind of feeds itself into a frenzy of other things, that doesn't it? And this is what it says here. He says that they will become lovers of themselves, and then now, because here's the thing. When you love yourself, I gotta take you back. The reason why they popped up so heavily on the things in the 60s and 70s and so forth is because mainstream psychology jumped in, saying that most of the problems in the world were dealing with people because people had low self-esteem. That's what they said. That was the reason why it started to really push yourself, love yourself, you're better than this, you're a great person. Look in the mirror, tweak your cheeks, tell them you're good. Right? Okay? Because here was the thing, is that when you start to tell yourself, I'm good, I'm wonderful, I'm powerful, I'm smart, I'm this, I'm that, because you're saying, this is what psychology at the time was saying, some people, that they had low self-esteem. And the only way to be better about that was not to go to God's Word and edify yourself, but to edify your own self. Tell yourself you're good. Love yourself. Treat yourself. This is why today when we get paid, first thing we say, you know what? I work hard. I'm going to get my hair done. I work hard. I work hard. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Do what I'm saying? Do what I'm saying? But this is...
I learned from McDonald's and Burger King.
Oh, okay.
You know, I deserve a break today.
That's right. My way. There you go. There you go.
I've been taking it ever since.
And that's the thing, though. Once you start feeding into the self-loving piece, self-loving means I need to also self-gratify myself. And to self-gratify myself, and therefore I mean I had to have some money. Because for me to get the things that I deserve because of who I am, this is where we become lovers of money. Does the scripture not say that the root of all evil is money? Is that what it says? No. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, isn't it? And that's the thing, because once I start loving me, now I gotta take care and give me the best I can. I'm gonna look the best. I'm gonna wear the best. I'm gonna be the best. Therefore, if we do that, now I gotta have the resources to give myself the best. And this is where we start to become lovers of money. This is why you will find those prosperity preachers, those prosperity teachers, and so forth. They'll be riding around in Bentleys while you still riding on the bus with a bus pass. See it? This is where it says it's coming out of. Because if we sold an idea. If they told them the full counsel of God's Word that you're not going to be prosperous every day, because here's the deal. They're telling everybody, God wants you to be wealthy. God wants you to be healthy. God wants you to be all these things, right? But here's the deal. Did not Christ say the poor you will have with you always? So do you see that they just kind of slipped that off the page and said, no, everybody's going to be wealthy. Everybody's going to be healthy. Everybody's going to be... But you got to realize something. The most wealthy... This is the thing. Even today in the deliberating room, I have my little portable Bible, my little flip-top digital Bible. It's the King James Version, right? And the lady said to me, she goes, oh, I thought that was money. I said, no, this is my wealth. Money. She thought it was money. I said, no, this is my wealth. And she goes, your wealth? I said, yeah, money. I need this to keep life going. I said, but this right here gives me eternal life. This is my wealth. I said, I got more Bibles than I got money in the first place. And I said, so this is my wealth. So when I opened it up and I read some scripture to it, and I said, now you see why this is my wealth? You know, this is where my treasure is. Not in the things that go in my pocket that jingle. I said, because I need to get in here and that can be gone. But this here won't leave me. You know, so this is the beauty of it. So when I'm looking at this, he says that you're going to be lovers of, men going to be lovers of themselves. That scares me. Because if you look around you, can you not see it? Oh, do you not see it? Oh, it's just random, right? But then the lovers of money too, because you got pastors saying, well, you know, I can't come to preach here if I can't get paid like I wanted to pay. Ooh, you can't, and I get a new car every 2 years. Yeah. I got family members like that that are in the ministry that they kind of act like that. I do. God knows it's the truth. And then you see here, out of the lovers of money comes what? This is giving birth. It starts with self-loving. When you start with self-loving, it just leads you into the next piece of loving money because each time it's something that gratifies and does something for you. Because out of the self-loving comes the loving of money, which helps you further love yourself. And then when you start to really love yourself, what do you like to do when you think you get all that in a bag of chips? All right, got it. And there it comes. You see how I just gave birth to it? Oh man, I showed preaching sermon today. The folks was on fire. They were turning over the furniture, running around, making laps around the church. This is what they do. You see what I'm saying? This is what he's saying. This is where the church starts. This is where internally, this is what Paul was telling Timothy. Look out for this mess that's coming. He said, you be gentle and strong when you see this. This is why he says, but, that's big but. He says, but, know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. And why does it become perilous? Because these people right here are going to be courageous. They're going to have some wonderful things to say. They're going to tantalize your ears. They're going to have you going, I deserve better. I should have better. I can have better. My God is a high God. I'm a king's child. We start quoting all that stuff that don't have no reference to what we really are. Do you see it? Are we not in those times? Huh? Oh man, Joe O.C. would have me shot if he heard me saying it. He'd be a drive-by. I'm gone. Because he tells you, out of this love of self, out of this love of money, we become boasters. We're going to boast in what we're able to do. Do you not know when we boast and start to boast, boasting is an outward thing. And when we boast, we become the superhero of every story we tell. Y'all realize that? Think about it. Folks who are boasting and so forth, and they tell you something, they are the hero of whatever story they tell. Anybody boast and brag about nobody else but themselves. Do y'all see it? Is it making sense? Because see, pride comes from the inside. I'm thinking about how good I am. Now I boast about telling how good I am, but now pride is something that grows from the inside. My arrogancy will show up, but it begins from the pride that's on the inside. And where does pride come from? Self-loving. I'm reminding myself how good I am, how well I handle the word. And here's the other thing. The Bible describes a shepherd and a hireling. What's a shepherd? Anybody? Pastor? Yeah. But what does that look like?
He loves the people.
One of those people? Okay, whatever.
He maintains the flock.
He what?
Maintains the flock.
He maintains the flock? Okay. Can somebody tell me what a hireling looks like?
He's hired to do the same thing.
He's hired to do the same thing. He's there for the money. The hireling. The scripture speaks of a shepherd and a hireling. The hireling is there who's supposed to do the exact same thing, except for the difference between a pastor or a shepherd and a hireling is that when the money runs out, he runs out. If it gets too high, see, he's gone. He's gone. He leaves the sheep unprotected. So this is what he's talking about. He's giving you the scriptures. The hireling was spoken of later on in the scripture, but here it is. He's giving you why it happens. Because they're only there because they love themselves. They don't love the sheep. They don't love anything else, and they love the money. I'm there as long as the money is there, and if the money ain't what it likes, like what it should be, jump on the spot. I'm looking for someplace else to pay me. My wife will tell you this, and this is the honest to God's truth. When we were making a decision for me to leave the corporate world to come and preach, we looked at some smaller businesses and so forth, trying to get those going, because I did not want the burden of my salary having to be on the church, saying that I could only go there. I had to go to this particular church because they could afford to pay me what I needed to keep my family alive. I did not want to put a price tag on God's word. I wanted to be used where God wanted me to be. Now, she's right here. She can tell you. And that was the whole point. I wanted to be used where God could use me, not where I had to go sell it over here because they got enough people inside the building to pay for my house and my car and kids going to college and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that God can't do that, but in my head, in my discussions with her, this was one of the things that I did not want that to be the motivation for preaching. See, in my heart, I knew if I could do it, if I would do it, even if there was no pay, then I was doing the right thing in my heart. Because there was nothing other than the earnest desire to fulfill what God had placed in my heart to do. And it wasn't based on financial compensation. It wasn't based on anything other than loving God's people and loving God and loving His Word. And that, to me, has given me a quality of life second to none in all that I've done since I've left the world. And so when I read this, when I look at these kind of things, I start to see how easy it is to really had the regeneration of heart. And that's the whole point. They never had the real regeneration of heart. And that's the key, is the regeneration of heart. It's not just a confession of your mouth, but it is the change of your heart. When he said that you give me lip service, but your heart is far from me. This we speak of in Scripture. And so now let's go a little further on. Because he says here, they become boasters, they become proud, but then they become what? See, I can become abusive to you because you don't matter. You know why you don't matter? Because the only thing that matters, Jim, is me. You see self-love? I can say whatever I want to you. I can call you anything under the sun because the only thing that matters is me. I have self-love for me. Either you're doing what I want or you're no good to me. Wow. That's a big wow. Because, see, again, these are people who say they know Christ. These are people who say they know the Lord. These are people who says in the Scriptures in the wrong, who has the appearance or the form of godliness. But there's no change. They may carry a Bible. They may even show up in the church house. That's the form. But there's a substance. And so you'll find the substance in what comes out of them, what comes out of their actions, what comes out of their words. And here you see, first of all, that they're self-loving, they're lover of money, and also then they become boasters and they're proud, and they become blasphemous. They will say hurtful and abusive things. And then it goes on and says this, that they are what? Disobedient to who? Oh my snap. Y'all see the problem with this? Do you see where it's coming from? It all began with self-loving. Okay? See, because this is the thing. Do you know when you're disobedient to your parents, you know what that does to the family unit? It breaks it down. And here's the whole point. Is the family where it needs to be today? You remember Leave the Beaver and all that? You thought it was you, man. Leave the Beaver and all that, right? How do you do it? Those are really family-oriented shows, right? Little House on the Prairie, those kind of things. They were all, Father Knows Best. Those were all family-oriented shows where the father was the cornerstone of the family. Mom held everything together. The children did what they were supposed to do, but then they got a line, there was a gentle chasing and bringing them back in and so forth. That was the family unit, okay? And if there were issues in the family, you see them sit around the table, they talk about it. Little Billy, what's going on with you? Why are you showing up, right? Okay? Somebody tell me, when have you seen that happen in this day and age? You don't. You don't even see the Cosby Show no more. They need to stop running the reruns of the Cosby Show. You got fun. But here's the thing. In his experience, he's telling me that they become disobedient to parents. And when they become disobedient to the parents, it breaks down the family unit. This is the whole point. God put institutes the family for a reason, because in the form of the family, this is where the teaching of His Word gets passed on into the next generation. And if the family's busted, then they can't pass anything further on. And so therefore, you've got all these dysfunctional children being raised because they're raising themselves in essence, because in our mind, I'm putting a roof over their head and putting clothes on their back and there's food on the table. I'm doing good. But you're not writing on their life. These words. This is coming out of the church. Do y'all see it? Because see, this is breaking up. This is where this heresy, all this is coming out of the church. This is why he's saying perilous times are coming. You would expect this to happen in the world, right? But you would not expect it coming out of the church. I remember growing up, being a preacher's kid, we called him PK kid, by the way. You know, I think I said this, I don't know if it was here or somewhere. But I said, me and little Johnny did the exact same thing. Johnny could be with me when we do it, and Johnny was we both in trouble, but Johnny was just acting out, and I was the devil. Yeah, that's a preacher's kid. You can't do that. You're supposed to be better than that. What do you do? Right? But here is the thing. Little Johnny was like, oh, that's okay. He's just acting out. He's got a lot of energy. Right? That's the devil over there, though. That's the devil's promise. He's talking about me. And I'm talking about you. Little Johnny was with me. He won't go around the second. I didn't even look and say, little Johnny, there's a window like that. Right? But do you see how it talking about that there were certain things that they did not allow to exist in the family. There would be no disobedience of anyone in the family. But you see, when we find it easier to just let them have their way, I got a copy. Here it is. When you're self-centered in this experience, when you sit there watching the Super Bowl game, you're supposed to be watching the kids, and you're not watching the kids because it's more important for you to watch the football game because I'm all that's important, that's all that matters. Alright? Okay? This is how it happens. This is where it becomes disobedience to parents and disobedience to things of that nature because you're only caring about the things that you care about. It doesn't matter if your parents are in need. Because, see, that was one of the things that God said. Honor thy mother and thy father. Period. He didn't say honor thy mother and thy father if they are good, or if they're providing for you, or if they're in the same house with you. He did not say that. He said, honor thy mother and thy father. Now here it is. He said, they're telling you that these people in the end are going to be boasters, they're going to be self-lovers, lovers of money, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to their parents. Wow. These are it's horrible, isn't it? But do you see where it came from? You see the careless of it? And we're raising a bunch of self-loving individuals. Everything out there, Oprah, Dr. Oz, Dr. Bill, and all of them, they're helping you learn how to love yourself. So if I'm loving me, then there is no esteeming others greater than myself in that picture, is there? There is no humility in self-loving, is it? So therefore, if there's no humility in self-loving, then it can't give birth to unity, then can it? These are the leaders now. I'm talking about these are the leaders. This is why he's saying perilous times is coming. Because the church is going to be under great attack because these folks are coming from within the church. This is why he's telling Paul, be on the lookout for this. And here's the other thing. Y'all not realize that he's talking about specifically what was happening really there in Ephesus as well. He's saying these things are coming. But Ephesus was a rich little city. It was a pagan city. Well, it was pretty prevalent. So he's speaking to them that they're going to come in there. This is why I'm saying Paul was a gifted young man. He had the ability to preach, to teach, he had influence, he did all these things. He had what considered to be power in most people's minds. It would be very easy for someone with a little extra change in their pocket to try to buy him. Y'all see it? There ain't nothing better than having your own preacher in your pocket. Don't preach on that message today, man. We're in business the other one. You can't talk about that. Thank you, Lord. But he goes on. And he says that they're going to be disobedient to parents, but then he says they're going to be who?
Unthankful and unthankful.
Ooh, ooh. Why do you think they're going to be unthankful? They deserve it. They deserve it. You're right. Give yourself, Jesus. You got to give yourself. Because they really deserve it. Because it was all me. It was all me. After what you had to sacrifice me to get there, but it was all me. This is what he's talking about. They're unthankful in this experience because it was all me. This is the self-loving. This is all about who I am, the self-centeredness. You didn't do anything to help me get there. This is why they're unthankful. This is what's going to really hurt people because, again, a child of God is supposed to be what? Humble, loving, patient, kind, understanding, long-suffering, gentle, all these things, right? All these things in here where there should be some joy and all this stuff in it, but then all of a sudden you're helping someone along the way because you believe in the words of preaching and teaching and so forth, and then all of a sudden now they're unthankful because when they stand up there they're going, this church wouldn't be here without me. I leave, what y'all going to do? You see it? Mm-hmm. We go. See, so this is what he's saying, that they're unthankful because they believe they've done it all themselves. God gets no credit, by the way, in this. God gets nothing. This is why it becomes perilous. Perilous, by the way, I must share with you, it gives the definition of ignition. Cutting, stabbing, wounding, that kind of thing. This is what he's talking about will happen to the church when these type of folks come up in it and we don't deal with it. This is why he's telling them, but be aware. But know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. And then he goes on and says that then they will also be unholy. And I captured something when it says being unholy, it's dealing with also being indecent. They will not reverence anything holy. They will not hold anything to be decent. You know, like natural things, respecting women, things of that nature. It's not going to matter. This is the unholy part of it. That's the sad part. They even get even sadder than that because, one, they've already disrespected God on so many different levels, and now they start to disrespect this decency things of life. You know, like in the old scripture where it was really bad for a son to lay with mom or dad or his daughter and all that kind of shit. That was an indecent type thing. They would not have a problem with that. You know, it wouldn't be a problem for them to swindle you in a deal because, you see, there's no indecency. That's what it becomes. It starts to become unholy. Because it already shows all the other unholiness by not adhering to the Word of God. But now it starts to speak about the decency of life with just the average, everyday people around. This is what makes it extremely unholy. Because instead of esteeming others, loving them as you love yourself. Because the thing like, as much as you self-love you, if you love your neighbor as much as you self-love you, then basically you would be able to treat them with decency. There'd be some holy esteem in you. But that's not the case. Because, see, when you self-love, that leaves no room for anybody else. Does that make sense? And then it goes on and says this here. It was talking about common decency as well. And then he goes on and says, this next piece here, it says that they are, verse 3, what does it say? What's that first word?
Unloving.
I'm sorry.
Without love.
Without love. Unloving or without love. Ooh. Ooh. That speaks of what we call family love. It's tough enough. I mean, see, it's like, you know, in one part, because this is not even agape love. This is that storge, family type love. Okay, it's actually storge, is what it says in the Greek, and it's a family type love. The love that you have from mother, father, and father, son, and father, daughter, that kind of thing, mother, daughter, all that kind of stuff right there. Okay, he's saying that you don't have that kind of love. This is what your self-centered nature has done to you. That you don't even care about those who have the same blood as you, who share at your table, lay under your same roof as you. This is what it speaks of. Because here's the deal. There is no room in it in being self-centered. When I'm self-centeredly loving me, everything is gratifying and pointing toward me. You only exist because of me. Therefore, if any love should be given anywhere, it should be coming this way. Not me going that way. See, that's where it gets even uglier. Because see, we can look around at the situation in life right now and say, that is this. And you see it out in the world. Now, how would you feel to walk off into a situation and find a pastor who's got this big church going and find out this is how he deals in his home, that there is no love in his home for his family? That'd be rather eye-opening and rather shocking. But this is what Paul was telling Timothy is coming. These things are coming. They're going to love their possessions. They're going to want the big house. They're going to want the things. They're going to want the money to go along with it. And they're going to boast about their successes. They're going to boast about how big their church is, how many people are joining their church, all these wonderful things. And then there's going to be pride. They're going to see the pride, and they're going to walk around. They're going to be stressed, right? And they're going to walk past those in need and go, keep going.
A little leaven the whole lump.
That's it.
This is what this is reminding me of, because, you know, I can look back to the first day I became a Christian, and, you know, I was in my mid-20s, and I could, you know, give you examples of people from the various places I've been. So,
That's the thing. It all started from, it all started from self-love. I'm focusing on my love, on my life, what I want, what I deserve. This is where it was the catalyst. And see, if you think about it, every time you turn on one of these prosperity preaching individuals, they're telling you how much you deserve, how much you this, how much you that. If you go to Oprah tells you. If you go to Dr. Phil, he's telling you. Everything is telling you that you gotta love you. And God's not telling you that you can't love you, but He's saying that you must, as much as you love you, love your neighbor. This is what God is telling us. That as much as you, love your neighbor. And see, here's the deal. He doesn't qualify what your neighbor looks like. Your neighbor is your wife, your children, your people that next door to you, the folks across the street, your people that see at work. All those folks are your neighbor. He doesn't qualify it as just being literally the folks that live next door to you, because if that was the case, then you don't have to love the folks in your home. That's why he left it so generic, was that your neighbor is anyone that's outside of you. That makes sense?
Especially the neighbor that dislikes you, lets you know that he dislikes you.
Oh,
He's talking about his word.
most definitely. Because he tells you, love thy enemy. And that's hard. But here's the reason why it becomes hard. Because, see, we like those folks who love us back. And I'm here to tell you, the folks that love us back and we love them, that type of love, that's not an agape love experience. Because, see, that's one based on conditions. The agape love is a love of the will, that love from the will. It's not based on love from the object of love, but the one doing the loving. So, yeah. And then he goes on and says this. Unwho?
Unforgiven.
That means, what does that mean?
No problem.
No, that means that there is no way to right a situation with him. Don't care how much you beg, how much you plead, how much you say you're sorry, please forgive me. No, unforgiving. You're done. It's finito. There's no movement in them. Again, out in the world? Yes. In the church? Couldn't possibly be. This is where he says it's going to come from. This is why, did you see why he's calling this perilous? And see, the English language, we struggle to really have words that have the meat of what it was really intended in the Greek. Because it's vicious. It's a vicious situation. Because, think about it. Most people who know their pastor and so forth love their pastor because why? Their pastor presents himself as one that loves them and cares for them and will bleed out for them. That's why he did it. This is one that if he had to lose both arms and legs so therefore we could live, he would be just a body. Just a body with no arms and legs because he would bleed out for us. That's how I see him as being that person. That he would literally be the one that lay down and say, okay, chop me up, let me go. I could not see these characteristics coming out of him. You see what I'm saying? But so you picture that in your head and then imagine someone opening up the Bible going, y'all should be glad God showed up today. Share some word with you. I'm only going to give you 10 minutes worth, and then we're going to take up an offering. I got a tea time. That's crazy. That's crazy. And to say that, you know, Pastor, it's real. Or to say that, you know, Pastor, my wife's in the hospital and I want to know, can you come by and pray? I'm sorry, this. Maybe you can get one of them leaders or something like that to go and do that. That's real. That's real stuff happening right now.
Because there are pastors out there that have several homes all over the world. And they have people in their congregation that barely have a place to stay. He's actually living with someone.
Yeah.
He's giving his tithes, his offerings, but like you said, we'll walk by and he doesn't even have a car. He's on public transportation, but he has $200,000 car.
Yeah. So this is what this is written 2,000 years ago. And this is why he's saying that in the last days, every day we get closer to that last day. And he says that the closer we get to the coming of Christ, the worse it's going to get. Because it says in verse 15 that they're going to grow more and more wicked. Do you know what I'm saying? Right now, you know, they hide under these auspicious words of prosperity and things of that nature. Also, but see, eventually they're going to even lay that aside. Because it tells us in the scripture that those things will be revealed for what they truly are. But by the end, guess what? It's going to be too late. So many people are going to be led astray.
Right. they will become that way.
Yeah.
Meaning there are pastors that are not like that now that still will become that
They will become that way. Because, again, it's going to be tough. You're going to have people that's going to leave the church because when the persecution gets hot, when we're going to be having to stand for what's right, when the church right next door to us is saying we're doing it wrong because they have chosen a different path that has deviated from God's word. There will be some people who are like, well, I got to go to, my kids go to school with their kids, and I don't want to deal with that. Or I have to work with them, and I don't want to deal with that. You see what I'm saying? These is where these things are going to come to play. This is how it's going to impact the body of Christ, the true body of Christ, is because we're going to be pitted against our relationships. Our children are going to be in the midst of it. Here's the thing. This is the thing that has boggled my mind more so than anything else. I have never seen a day, a time, where children run parents more now than they ever have in the history of time. There has been never a time where I could walk in and tell my dad, I don't want to be here, Daddy. There's the church situation. Then he goes, okay, son. Well, let's go. If he goes there and assess the situation, it's being visually solved, it's a helpful environment for me to be in, you better go for that. But we got children now having parents go from church to church, 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 trying to find what they like. Not what's good for them, not what's right. What they like. And the sad thing is, parents are going, okay, that's it. Don't like it? Okay, go on. Not the parent leading the child. The child leading the parent. Y'all see the problem with that? Mm-hmm. See, these are things that are coming. And they're here. And he says here, then, after unforgiving, they become what? Oh my goodness. Slanderers? Really? Who would have done that? That means the devil will say any manner of thing to drag you down to continue to edify and build himself. Doesn't have to be true. Doesn't even matter if it's true. Because we don't matter. We don't matter. The only thing that matters is me. My money, my boastfulness, my pride, my arrogance. My parents don't matter. The family here doesn't matter. My loving towards family doesn't matter. All these things. And it all comes out. And this is the leaders. I keep wanting to get to understand. This is the leaders. This is what Paul is warning Timothy about. To make sure that you stay away from these kind of folks. And you notice he didn't tell them to fix them. He doesn't tell them to fix them. Okay?
Nothing to do with that.
You turn away from them. You turn away. He didn't say fix them.
Yeah.
Because see, they are dead set in their heart as to who they will be. Because here's the deal. In trying to fix them, he cannot witness to those who are in need. Get that? Because see, this is the devil's greatest trick. Is that if I can get you tied up with me, if I can get you tied up fighting to lead over here, then you can't help anybody else. You can't help us all. Because now I've got all your gifts, skills, abilities, and talents locked up right here. This is what I tell you. All right. Don't deal with that. We ain't done yet. We should be. I'm sorry. We're over. Well, hold on. Can we finish preach? Okay? Okay. And he says, without what? Self-control. Why do I have to have self-control? When it's all about me. I can just come in and take what you got. It doesn't even matter. Right? Because it's without self-control. That means that for me to have self-control, that means I have to value you of some sort. And along the way here, I lost all that. I don't value you. You hold no value to me. I can say what I want to say to you. I can do what I want to do to you without any self-control, because the only thing that matters in this is me. And that sounds almost absurd to believe that somebody's going to be a pastor or a teacher or a leader in God's Word in his church and it's going to be this way. It sounds almost absurd. telling you, you deserve it. You deserve that. God's got greater things for you. You're going to be wealthy. Put your money in the basket. But you're going to be all right. Here it is. Go ahead.
And the congregation is telling him, you know, that he deserves.
Yeah. Because if they be him, they're going to be them.
That's right. And that's why they have Saturday service.
Yeah.
They've raised up teachers that will tickle their ears, and my people love it.
That's what it said. That's what he said. He doesn't do call that. And we in that day. We got people in our lives like that. Let's finish it down. He says this. Because there is the next thing. When you have no self-control, what's the next step from that?
You're crazy.
Brutal.
Brutal! I get physical now. Do you see it? Because there's nothing that gains what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. I can talk to you like you're a cat and a dog and you got a tail and so forth. Because you don't matter. And I can say what I want to say. I can do it when I want to do it. And whether you like it or not does not matter. And then if you keep getting in my face like that, now my next step is to get what? I lay hands on you and there's no oil involved. And there's no oil involved. Okay? I'm not trying to bless you. I'm trying to take something from you. This is the next step. And people, do you see it? It's a progression. Do you see where it started at? That when you have people who have only self-love, who worry about themselves. This is one of my greatest challenges when we were raising our children, was that they didn't get caught up in me, my. It was about helping them understand, to share, to teach, to give, to see others' needs. Give your lunch money to them. Give them your lunch. You can come home and eat. This is one of the things that we were emphasizing in them, because if they got caught up in only looking at themselves, the fall was going to be great. And that's in children. Now imagine grown-up adults like that. And he says this here. They'll become despisers of good. Now here's the sad part. They will have enough sense, enough understanding to understand what is good, yet still despise it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
That sounds like a reprobate man's mind.
It is.
Because they still have the mind to use,
Yeah.
and they choose to use it in the negative way.
They know that it's good.
They know that it's good. They have the ability to assess that this is good, and yet still despise it. Do you see it? I know we only got to 3 verses tonight, but I wanted to take the time to walk through a lot of stuff.
Pretty good.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
That was three.
Don't worry, I know a lot of stuff in there. I hope I didn't take it too fast, but there's so much in there. There's so much in there, because that's 18 to 19 characteristics that's going to come out of self-loving.
I gotta floss my teeth now.
Just today I told my grandson, because he said, oh, I hate this or something. I said, you know what? I don't like to hear you say, I hate this, I hate that, I love this, I love that. You know, we use those words too frivolously, we don't even know what they mean. Now they want to share with them. I mean, you know, not all of it, but you know.
But this is what I'm saying. This right here, I was in there and I'm going through it. I'm reading it. I'm like, there's so much more. It's because I actually have a total from. I make packets. What I do historically, I will make packets from what I study. Okay, and normally they're called teaching notes. Okay, I have 1, 2.
Wow, 13?
This book here goes up to. This one's 19. This is 20 pages here. This one here is 11 pages. This one here is 9. That's chapter 3.
Wow.
That's chapter 3. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep to pull some of this stuff out, you know. But this is what encourages me, is that when we can take the time and walk through, because get nothing else out of this, realize that all these 18 and 19 characteristics that pops up begin with self-loving. That's where it begins. So, B, you all right?
Yeah.
Got that look on your face.
The verse that I was referencing is Jeremiah 5:31. The prophets prophesied falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, and the people love to have it so. Jeremiah 5:31.
Jeremiah 5:31?
31.
Wow.
I get it. I'm just excited, you know. Just, yeah.
I like the concept that it's seasons of time,
Yeah.
because, we've had good seasons, you know, the Billy Graham season,
Right.
you know, and then we had pastors on the East Coast who got involved with money and everything. You know, we got into, well, that was actually in the 80s, right?
We've had revivals.
We had good one.
Yeah.
Ephesus
Yeah.
was a very stronghold of Christianity. It wasn't,
Right.
and then it was, and then now it's not again. You know?
Right. So this is what I'm saying. I'm so thankful for. I'm working diligently and trying to better understand how to read the Greek and working within it and so forth. Because it's key. Because we have just that one word to describe
Right.
time.
Right.
And so therefore in Greek they have chronos, which means chronological, and then kairos, which means like season of time. And it's that having called out that and go and look at it, I was reading this thinking chronologically, because in chronological you think it's going to escalate over time. This one
Because a lot of people look at this and they think it's talking about the last day,
right.
just before
Just
the
before
rapture.
But this is talking about that part going forward.
from the time of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
when he ascended until he returns again.
She returns again. And I love it when you think, because if you go back, and it says that there's a time and a season for everything. You know? And it even speaks of that there's a time that's going to come when the lawless one will come. And it says that he can't come until the falling away of the church happens first. He says it can't come until the falling away of the church happens first. Okay? Y'all want the scripture for that? Actually, wrote it down. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 12. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 12. This is where it will give birth to the Antichrist. And it says, and he is going to come, and he's going to be absolute epitome of deceivers. This is the one who's going to come, who is called the man of lawlessness, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, who takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God, and he's going to deceive people, and he's going to do all kinds of wonders and signs, false wonders, it says, and signs, and with the deception of wickedness, he's going to cause